The leader of a Republican think tank believes that women need stronger abortion laws because they just can't control themselves.
What has happened? We've broken down marriage because when you're sexually available, marriage doesn't necessarily need to occur. And the challenge with that mindset and women not controlling their sexual impulses and demanding marriage before they do get sexually involved is that then men are the ones that lose track of time.
You hear that, ladies? The real problem here is you're not controlling your impulses. And that's why we need to ban abortion. Because, of course. Wow. So if you're wondering who that was conservative Star Parker, who runs a conservative think tank, Cure, and writes a weekly news column. I can only imagine what kind of gems you'll get from that. And she was responding to some statistics that show that women, particularly women of color, have fewer opportunities because they're working to care for their families and finances instead of being able to get ahead. So now she was asked, hey, what do you think that the reversal of Roe v. Wade is going to have on that? And are you ready for that? And she says, of course. Yeah, no, I think this is a good thing. I think taking away reproductive freedom is fantastic because it'll make people get married. Oh, great. So now look, the issue here is not a moral one. It's a socioeconomic one. Why black women do not get ahead. And by the way, not just black women, but women of all races don't get ahead in the workplace. It's because corporations, businesses hate when you have children. And look, they'll talk about the expectations. Of course, the mother is the primary caretaker, which unfortunately in our society, it tends to be the case. And as a result, you have employers that will discriminate against women in the workplace using that as an excuse. Oh, well, you got a family and you got kids. And so obviously you're not going to put the corporation first. So, we're just going to pay you less, even though oftentimes women tend to work harder and are more efficient, get more done, and are just generally better workers. I'm not saying in all cases, but and certainly I've seen examples of this, and they still get paid less than their male counterparts. So, in fact, women often get paid less and get passed up for promotions because they're women. Now, when it comes to black motherhood, what's interesting here is that black mothers are more likely to be employed, often working 2 to 3 jobs to get by. And so here's where the narrative here from the conservatives comes into play, where they say, oh, you got the single mothers, and that's a problem. Where are the fathers? Where are the black fathers? Gee, you might want to, look at the carceral state that they've set up that imprisons black bodies. Just saying. But look, that's an example of them taking an economic and socioeconomic issue, as well as, of course, a criminal justice issue, and turning it into an issue where it's your morals. And so if you're in that situation, you're a single mother and you're, barely making enough to get by, well, that's your fault. Oh, really? Again, women, especially women of color, get paid less because companies are allowed to get away with it. Corporate America loves to do that. And they hate it when their workers demand things like child care and affordable health insurance for their families or paid time off. No. They despise those things. And so in order to not do them, they just say, oh, you know what? You're not working hard enough, or you don't deserve it because, oh, maybe you have to leave because your kid's sick. Sorry. I remember I worked for a company that used to do these meetings. And in one of the meetings, they were talking about health insurance. The CEO was talking about health insurance, and they're like, your kids are costing us too much, so we have to change health plans. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Oh, your kids are costing me too much. Your kids get sick too much. So we're going to have to cut health plans because we don't want to pay that much for our part of our contribution. It's ridiculous. So now Parker is taking these economic issues and saying that, see, black mothers, you can't get ahead because, not because of corporate greed, but because you can't control your sexual impulses. You're just too horny. That's the problem. That's the real problem, ladies. According to Star Parker, women are sluts and you need to control yourself so you can get a man and rope him into a marriage. That's how you get by. But wait a minute. That looks bad on men too. A lot of men out there actually do want to have marriage. Look, conservatives understand they have a really warped view of things. Both men and women, by the way. Apparently, to them, men are dumb and have to be roped into a marriage, and that women are all sluts and can't control themselves. This is what they believe. This is what they're saying. This is what they're saying. Apparently. And their solution to it is just ban abortion so that, you know, they have to have babies, and then for women to stay home. That's it. They think that's going to fix all these social issues and economic issues that really have been created by corporate America and greed. That's what they're doing here. Again, bringing me back to Parker. Now, you notice Parker is a black woman. And I think we all know how conservatives love to get minorities to trash their own communities. That's what she's doing. 100%. She is there running these so-called think tanks, right? Getting paid, kind of like Candace Owens, right? To ultimately help both patriarchy and white supremacy. Saying that it's the women's fault for not controlling themselves. You know, and that, hey, white men who are in power, men who are making the laws, well, you don't have to do anything. Don't worry. It's not a societal problem. No, you can be sexist and racist if you want. It's a moral problem. It's their problem. It's their fault. So we don't have to do anything, policy-wise. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, it's women. It's a sluts. Yeah, that's what it is. I should put a pill between her legs. Yeah, that's what they should do. I mean, it really is amazing. And they also, by the way, absolve men of all responsibility for having kids. You don't hear them talk about that, right? How it's the men's responsibility. Because they're the 100% of pregnancies caused by men. Just saying. I know. But what about the Bible? Immaculate conception. Okay, now we're talking fantasy fairy tale. No, we're not having that conversation. No. But getting back to Parker, again, she gets paid to do this thing, to run this think tank that, again, is, I imagine, and to write those articles, which I imagine are filled with just ridiculous stuff, and promoting fake crisis pregnancy centers, which take in vulnerable people and lie to them. And that's the important thing to note. They take in people and they fill them full of disinformation. That's all she's doing. This is who they are, and it's disgusting to see this kind of rhetoric that is basically normalized on at least on one side of the political spectrum.